Hello. Uh, Good morning. It's actually, yep, it's 12, so it's in the afternoon. Time goes really fast. But good afternoon, and then good morning, then good evening. Whenever you're watching this video, whenever you are, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas as we head towards the new year. Today is Sunday, December. I keep saying November. Why do I keep saying November? I don't know. But today is December 28th, and it's Sunday, and we have 3 days before we kick off 2025. I am doing nothing today, and couple years back, very few years back, I made a decision to not watch a TV at all. Okay. No matter on Sunday, on weekend like this, I will watch I will watch some form of videos or watch some kind of a documentary. I never really watch like any movies, but I watch some kind of TV, comedy, something like that, right? Catch up with things that I've missed. So, but when I moved from California to Washington D.C., where I was staying in Capitol Heights, they had a television in my room, so I was sort of watching a ton and a ton of televisions, ton of TV. So when I moved in my house, I bought a smaller TV, but I was already disciplined. I was already making this video, and plus I had freedom to make these videos in the house, so I don't have to be scared or feeling like I'm not making noisy, or my roommates thinking I'm being weird making these videos. It can feel awkward, right? People here living about their days, their lives, and I'm doing economics, not only focused on things like geopolitics, but also trying to do my part because I live in DC. Right? If I was in Silicon Valley, I'd be talking about AI. So I talk about AI at the time. If I was in Los Angeles, I'd be talking about, I don't know, celebrities. If I was in New York City, I'd be talking about, I don't know, real estate, right? Or finance if I was in Charlotte. But here we are in the political center, right? So yesterday, this month, I've been addressing the things that people ask me or people say, and then I also talk because I say a lot of things every day, right? With people, with friends, with communities, and for the most part, I make assumptions. And when I make an assumption, somebody doesn't correct me, sometimes I feel like I'm wrong, but I don't have time to correct myself. So when I go home, I'm like, last time I made the assumption that was wrong. So because I cannot meet these people, I can't just call them and be like, hey, what I said yesterday was wrong. This is the correct answer. They don't care. They move on. They're on life. But I have to make a video so that I can correct these assumptions, so that someone else out there can, maybe this person or whoever I was talking to, can see this video and say, okay, James, no, he was wrong, so he made the right answer. And if you find this video and you had the same assumption, you're gonna find this video perfectly correct. So anyway, yesterday me and my friend were talking about the African World Cup of Nations, CECAFA, as they call it, and all the teams are playing in Morocco. So I drink tea every day. So I was talking to my friend about Morocco's World Cup and how there is a protest against the government because of not World Cup, but the African Cup of Nations. And this a friend of mine said that the Moroccan government is a dictator. Okay, he just made a comment, right? He says, "Oh, where's the protest? And the government is a dictator government." And I was like, "No, it's not. It's not a dictator. It's an anarchy." That's what I said. I said it's an anarchy. A dictator is like, oh, and I was like, a dictator is like a president, but an anarchy is like a king. Okay. But now I did this like when I was in high school. The good thing about going to school in the USA is that, excuse me, is that in the US, the high school here teaches all form of governments. Okay, like we learn those things. I was never taught those things in Africa, in Uganda, in Uganda. They don't teach those things in Uganda. They don't teach you the forms of government. Okay, they don't teach you anything about dictator, anything about democracy, anything about the rule of law. They don't teach you anything about like anarchy, monarchy, like those things, right? So when I came to the US, luckily I went to high school here, so I was able to learn all those forms. Took a test, passed it, but it's been a long time ago. Like, so I haven't been to high school for a long time, so I forgot about everything. But today I have to revise. I have to go back and see. Okay, did I actually give the right answer? Is a king, a dictator, or an anarchy? So let's talk about this today. Okay, these are English words. So when a non-English speaker like me says something wrong, don't just take it as being political manipulator or something like that. Just like I don't know the meaning of these words because I'm not used to it. Sometimes there are people who speak English that don't have no idea. Okay, but let's start with this. A dictator. Dictator is not a government. It's an individual. Okay, there are many dictators around the world, and dictators are individuals who control the government. This everything they say. The word dictator is coming from the English word dictating. You are dictating. You are giving instructions. Like I can dictate my Apple Watch. Hey Siri. Right. It's a dictator. Like dictating is when you just simply dictate something, right? Dictators, they don't follow the constitution, and dictators can be in a democratic state. They can have a good government. They can have a functional government. They can have Congress. They can have a balance of power, and they still be dictators. One of the most modern example of dictator is Kim Jong-un of North Korea. Kim Jong-un has a government like any other government, right? They build nuclear bombs, so they're very successful people, very smart people. The thing is, you can't criticize Kim Jong-un. If you criticize him, you either die, go to jail, right? So if you say let's not build nuclear bombs, let's build, I don't know, feed people, right? The people in North Korea, they really don't have good food, like they struggle. Or let's open the country, just open the country, people move in, people travel. You cannot do that in North Korea, right? It's a very dictatorship government. It's a form of authoritarianism, authority, like there's an authority, like there's a power, not to control, right? No one knows why people become dictators, but they do for some reason, right? So that's like the powerful dictator is in North Korea. It's very powerful, very successful. Okay. Another most successful, the most powerful dictator in history was in Germany, the Hitler, Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, just like normal, he was elected, raised to power, right? And he just became a dictator. He just controlled the power of the military, the people, and started killing people. Like he will give the authority, nobody would say no. Like he would say, "Let's go kill these people." Nobody would say no. Okay, that's an example of a dictator. They are very manipulative. Nobody really like follows. No one disagrees with them. If you do, you are just an enemy, and we see this from King Jewish in Germany, right? And then trying to control other countries. But that's like extreme dictators. We have other dictators who are known as hybrid. and these dictators are most normally like very weak. They're not that strong. One of an example is Africa. Africa. Okay, Maduro from Venezuela is also a dictator, but I'm not gonna go too deep because I don't really look much in South America. I don't focus much on that place. But Africa has the most number of dictators, but also the most. Wow, people go to the red light all the time. Jeez, they don't stop. This guy's driving like 56 miles per hour. But anyways, the Africa has the most number of dictators per capita, but they are also like the most weakest dictators. They're not really that strong. They get overthrown all the time. That's because they're weaker, right? And this is because I guess they don't have the remember, dictatorship is an authority. You have to have an authority, the power. And for the most part, African countries, African dictators, they don't have the authority power. They can only stretch power maybe among their people, but they can't stretch power all over the world, right? Like there's a limit. So that's like the main reason why African dictators have never been successful. Like we see people like Idi Amin Dada, where he didn't succeed as much. Right, we see like Uganda, for example, where we have the Museveni, where he became hybrid because he couldn't be an absolute dictator because that wouldn't work. So he became an hybrid. So Uganda is an hybrid government where it's half democratic, half authoritarian. So there's like a balance. And many countries are like that, right? Many countries in Africa are like that. I can give more and more examples. But anyways, wrong question people ask a lot about United States. Is Donald Trump a dictator? The answer is no. Trump is not a dictator. He will never be a dictator. And unlike other countries, Trump knows that if he became a dictator, the chance of him getting killed is much, much higher. Trump came in the times where United States needed somebody who can take actions and solve problems from the cause of the root cause rather than shrugging it. Okay, US had a problem of excessive expenditure, spending money, not knowing where it's going. And remember, this money comes from taxpayers' money, but people pay taxes, right? Government has no money; they have no investments, so money comes from taxpayers. So to solve a problem in a mathematical form, in math, if you want to solve something, you have to eliminate everything. Even in philosophy, if you want to fix something, you gotta break it down to the normal point. Similar with, what else can I say? Any other, like if you wanna fix this iPhone, if it's broken, you have to take every single part apart. Okay. And Donald Trump is actually pretty smart. I can tell that he did. And if you see people he surrounded himself with are also smart people, like Elon Musk, right? People did physics, people did economics, people did math. These are the simple solutions, right? You just break down things to the bottom level. Then you can see the path and you can solve the problem from there. So what he did, he fired all the federal employees so that he can see, okay, where's the problem? Where's the money going? Where's the funding? Okay, and it's okay to do this and later find out that there's no fraudulent. Later on, find out there's no actually things are not true. Maybe money is going somewhere. Maybe there's then he cut all the organization's funding. So when you are breaking down a vehicle, breaking down things, you are. If you want to fix a vehicle and you want to break everything down, you gotta break things down anyways, right? And you bear the consequences. You have to know how to get back to normal. The good thing about the United States is that not everybody wants to be a president. Okay, Trump is the only person, an economist. Trump is an economist, a businessman, a real estate investor, who said we need to fix this, and after that he's gonna be gone. We're gonna have other people come in as with degrees like computer and like political science and historian and so on are coming and become presidents. Okay, those people who don't use math and want to solve problems, they don't break things down, they shrug everything on the top, so they create more bureaucracy on the top of it. So Trump is not a dictator, okay, but he can be, okay, he can be in a way that is doesn't know, okay. That includes if he gets criticized for his actions, he uses rhetorical terms, he uses divisions, okay, he attacks people. And that's because if you're solving a problem, solve a problem, and somebody says what you're doing is wrong, right? If you let that person jumps in and trying to stop you from solving that problem, you never solve that problem. You never solve that. You never solve anything. So you have to keep what you're doing until you reach the level. So Trump has been criticized as somebody who doesn't listen. He wants to do things that he wants to do, like in himself. That's called authoritarianism. But it's not at the level of dictatorship. Okay, it's just that from when he became like in his first term, he was very lenient. Okay, but things kept getting worse and worse. Like in COVID, we had a huge COVID, which came from China, right? We all know that. But China did not really give they didn't give chance for the US scientists to go to China and investigate COVID and they find out why do we need to shut down the government. We all have to listen to China. Okay, which is okay, like there's nothing wrong with that. But at least if we're going to be affected as Americans, they should have sent something over there to fix the problem. So Trump was like, this is something that we could have done, like we didn't do it, right? So that's like one of the examples. So we have many things we have to deal with after that. After COVID, we have to deal with inflation, we have to deal with unemployment, we have to deal with wars in other countries, right? We couldn't maintain democracy in other countries. So all those things are critical, very huge problem. But anyways, the simple answer is that Trump is not a dictator, okay? And if you have another question about Trump, please let me know in a comment. But he's not, and he will never be, okay? He's not clarified as one. People call him king. That is no different. I'm gonna talk about this in a minute, but yeah, it's not. He's using a constitution, and he's using like emergency power, using immigration as an excuse, a tactic. But that does not necessarily mean he's a dictator. Completely not. Not even close. But anyway, move on. Enough for Trump. And something I want to talk about is anarchy. So when I told this guy, Morocco is an anarchy, I was completely wrong. Okay, Morocco is a kingdom. Okay, the kingdom is called monarchy. But I'm gonna talk about anarchy for a moment. Okay, I'm gonna give an example of an anarchy. An anarchy is a form of self-government. It's not a dictator. It's not a person. It's a government where where the government has no central authority. Remember, dictators when somebody is controlling, and anarchy is when nobody's controlling, nobody's in power. Just people can do. The government is lawless. People can do whatever they want. Okay, this is very sad. You do not want to see an anarchy. It's the worst form of government ever. And examples of an anarchy in the United States is recently in 2001, January 6, 2021, when people stormed the Capitol. Okay, as soon as Joe Biden was declared as a winner, that moment Trump was no longer a president. Okay, he lost power. So that means people have the right to do whatever they want. They didn't have a right, but they could have done whatever they wanted because there was no central government. There was no government at the time. Like within that moment when Trump's vice president, what's his name? The slow guy, the guy with the white hair. I don't know his name. Was the vice president. When he went to sign, that moment there was no government. Nobody had power. Nobody. Okay. The states, the states had individual power because they have a governor, right? They could use national guards, but the central government, the Congress, the representatives, okay, the Senate, these people have no power, and the police could not reinforce the law. There was no law enforcement. Okay, this goes back to my own opinion before when I mentioned this. Okay, the government can be overthrown in a matter of seconds. Okay, people have power, and you gotta remember this. If you see this video, just remember that people have power. You have power. Okay, when people say these things, they're not joking. Okay, I'm not joking. Okay, people have power and they can overthrow the government at any moment if they want to. All right. So when Trump was already losing power, you know that he lost from Joe Biden. He just told his people, just go storm the Capitol. Nothing's gonna happen to you, and they did, and nothing happened to them. Okay. In reality, in reality, quote unquote, they are actually not guilty of anything, because the moment they stormed the Capitol is the moment when there was no law, there was no central authority, so they could do whatever they want. Okay, the police has no duty, they had nothing to do, they cannot enforce the law. If nobody, remember, the police is under the president, and if the president is no longer in power, the police can't do anything. Okay, they are not supposed to enforce the law. They have a right. People have a right to kill the police. People have a right to destroy the government. In many government that collapses, this is where when in many government that collapses, it collapses the moment. Usually when there's an election, right? Before the election is announced, before the new president is sworn in, that's why usually the chaos starts in every government to collapse. So they start. People protest, people fight. In that moment, they stop the election from happening. When that happens, the government is collapsing. Okay. Unless the government another government jumps in and it takes over. So, like for instance, Uganda is having an election next year, right? The good news is Uganda, the president of Uganda, Museveni, is probably gonna win, right? As well predicted, but let's say he has to lose, right? And then another guy, whoever is running, Besigye, I think Besigye is running. Like the last time I heard, it was Besigye was going to be president. He wins the election. I don't know if he's running, but he wins the election, and the government is like, Museveni is like, I don't want to lose, right? And then he stops the election from happening, the strife from happening. That can spark chaos and fighting, and the country can go from stabilized to like become unstabilized in a matter of seconds, right? So that's what we see in the United States. January 6th is when they stopped the Capitol. At that moment, there was no central authority. So that's anarchy. Another examples of anarchy was in Rwanda in 1994, when the president Habyarimana was flying from, I think was flying from Tanzania, and his airplane was shot, right? Was shut down, I think, yeah, shut down. His vice president, I don't know, did he have a vice president? I have no idea, but his vice president was supposed to take over and control the army. However, that moment when they announced the president is dead, that moment the country became lawless. Okay, and within 90 days they killed over up to 800,000 people were killed within 90 days. Okay, just a mistake, like a simple mistake of saying, calm down, the president is fine, he didn't die. But when they say the president is dead, that moment, a lack of the authority led Rwanda to have memorials in every country. People were killed, children, men, women, young, old, all were killed in a matter of seconds. Okay, That's why anarchy is really bad, because people need central authority. We all do good things not because we are nice people, but because the society is controlled by leaders. This is why we need the leaders all the time. Okay. So anyway, when the government, I want to see how much I have on my battery. Oh, I have time. I have like 50 minutes, so I can go fast. So when the government collapsed, when the president was killed in 1994 in Rwanda, I think that was April. If I remember the documentary, I never took the history of Rwanda, so I don't know much about Rwanda, but I took the history about 1960s, 1960, 1959, when there was a war. So I don't know much about Uganda 1994, Rwanda 1994, but when they shot the Berimanas airplane, that's when the government collapsed. And that moment, the government was under the anarchy, and the anarchy, the people just do whatever they want. They just killed. You could go to a neighbor and kill, go to a friend and kill. Okay, usually, so when these things happens, usually the government is supposed to keep a secret and say, hey, the president is fine, we got everything under control. Then they can swear a new president, a vice president. Okay, we see this in Tanzania, when in Tanzania, a president of Tanzania, Magufuli, died, and his vice president was sworn in as soon as possible before the anarchy takes over. We see the same thing in 1960s when Jeff Kennedy died. They immediately sworn in a new president. I think LBJ Johnson took over as soon as possible. This is very, very critical, because the moment you miss the deadline, the moment you blink an eye, they can turn to a new chaos. So that's what I meant when I say anarchy. I don't actually mean to be a dictator. Monarchy is the opposite of anarchy. A monarchy is a king. This is where Morocco is under the monarchy. A king usually is ruled by the family members, right? One family goes on, one family goes on. Some countries are half monarchy, a half democratic monarchy. So in UK, for example, United Kingdom, the monarchy, Queen Elizabeth, and then you have King Charles. They exchange power through family, but the king doesn't have the authority to control the constitutional government. Okay, they don't have control over the constitutional government. There's always a balance of power, so that's good. Similar with Uganda. Uganda is actually one of the best, because it follows UK system. We have kingdoms. Now we have Buganda Kingdom. In 1960s, the Milton Obote, he was trying to get rid of kingdoms. Some nations have done so, like Rwanda, they have eliminated the kingdoms. Similar with Congo, they have eliminated kingdoms. Burundi, same, and many other countries have eliminated kingdoms. Tanzania, no kingdoms, but Uganda still has and still maintains kingdoms. So we have Acholi, you have Buganda. Kore Kingdom was eliminated because that's where the president is from. So the president doesn't want somebody controlling him as another kingdom. So technically, he's like a king of his tribe, but it's a hybrid. So like the king and the president will both work together. So there is no like one over the other, right? So Uganda works the same way as UK, where the king doesn't have much authority over the government, the constitutional government, and the government does not have much authority over the kings. Okay, so there is a balance of power. That's a positive thing. So that's monarchy. So Morocco is a monarchy government. Many other governments are monarchy. I can't remember any other government that is monarchy, but there are a bunch of them. The other part of the government is the tyrant. A tyrant government is a government that has a central authority, like a dictator. They control everything. They control the army, and they are powerful. Okay, one of the most powerful tyrant is Hitler, okay, of Germany. Hitler was a very, very strong tyrant. But we never had another tyrant in the world since Hitler. Yes, we had Kim Jong-un, but Kim Jong-un is like really not as strong as he is. Kim Jong-un cannot he cannot control like China or control his neighbors. Tyrant is very strong, it's very powerful. Donald Trump has been characterized as a tyrant because he doesn't listen to other people. But anyways, that's all I wanted to say is just the different forms of governments. There are other governments like one that are ruled by churches, right? You have Saudi Arabia is ruled by monarchy, where the king is like the leader of the area. Some government can be ruled by a church or by religion like Islam, right, or Buddhism, whatever that is, But that's like today's modern world. That's not existing anymore. So here you have it. There are more governments out there, but just know that each government is different, okay? Because it's a kingdom does not make it bad. Like UK kingdom is actually pretty good. Moroccan kingdom is actually pretty good. Like Morocco has a good kingdom that is doing great. Dictators, because the dictator does not mean they're bad. Okay, because somebody is a dictator does not make them automatically bad. We see countries like Libya, for instance, where Libya had a Gaddafi as a dictator, but Gaddafi has a central authority, right? But his country was doing great. When he was overthrown, it was so hard for the government to install a new leader, so it turned into chaos. Each region in Libya became anarchy. Libya is actually an anarchy government where everybody forms their own government, creating chaos because there's no rule of law. Russia is a dictator, Putin, but Putin, unlike other presidents, he has to follow other authority because Russia is so huge, right? It's Soviet Union, it's USSR, so they have other form of government behind that is combining power. So if you think about it, it's not a centralized power. It's like collective of power. Then there are other things like communism, for instance, China. Xi Jinping could be a dictator, but there's a centralized power, but the power is spread out across China. So you have multiple, like a Congress in the United States, but from different parts of the world, and they all have collective power, and they all have equal power. They all have equal form of governance. Okay, in the United States, we do have constitutional, but however, not all Congress have power. Like some people have more power than others. Because if Congress had the power equally, then we wouldn't see states like Northern Virginia being poor or some constituencies being underfunded and others being more funded. Okay, then we didn't have things like lobbying, right? That's corruption. In China, they have like communists, so it's very communal, like togetherness, and they all share something, but they still have dictator. So anyways, this is from my view. I'm not a political scientist, never go to school for political science, but I learned this in high school. I have enough knowledge to understand things. I don't care which government is in power. I really have no problem with anybody. Like, I don't care. I don't care if it's an anarchy. I don't care if it's a kingdom. I don't care. Okay. The least I want to do in my whole life is worship somebody. I will not and I will never worship anybody. Zero. No worshiping anybody. Okay. Never in my whole life would I ever bow down to somebody. Okay. But if people want to do whatever they want to do, it's up to them. They do them. Okay. But for me, I don't care whatever government. There are people who just want to be part of the anarchy. There are people who want to be under there are people who want to be under a dictatorship, they think school. There are people who wants to be under democracy. They think is cool as well, right? Um, by the end of the day, it's all about personal preference. Okay, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Oh, the government is bad for you. This is bad for you. Those people have their own personal interest. Okay, for the most part, your personal preference matters the most. Always think about yourself first. Can you thrive under a specific government? Okay, there are people in the United States who may have individual freedom to be rich. Now, Elon Musk is a billionaire, he doesn't care. Jeff Bezos is a billionaire, he doesn't care. But Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk cannot survive in Germany, they cannot survive in Denmark or Norway because those countries are socialist. They share wealthy with everyone else. In the United States, that's not how it works. In the United States, is everybody takes away. Everybody takes whatever they can. If you can buy a bunch of houses and evict everybody, all on you. No one cares, right? People would have to live in that kind of environment. People have to live in this kind of society. So this is where migration plays a big role. Migration is when people move all different parts of the world to create a balance. Okay, so the people who enjoy to be in China, right, where there is a government controlling everything, your privacy, your your lives, and if you criticize them, they will silence you, right? People love that kind of stuff, right? They just have a peace of mind. Like people would love to live in North Korea, where they have to worship one leader, right? People have those kind of things. People have personal preferences, and that's why we have migration, right? But sometimes government within the government also can become dictators, right? Right. United States is a dictator in the government level. Okay, U.S. dictates how other countries have to live. That is also a dictatorship. Okay, like United States gets to control how other nations run. They get to give them the rules. They get to give them a dollar, the money to be used. They control monetary supply. They control large organizations. They control the military. They control humanitarian aid. So U.S. is in other hand, even though it's a democratic government, it's also a dictator. It doesn't give other countries the options to choose which government they want. Okay, that's just an example. UK controls other anarchies. UK does really control anarchies. Like they have the authority to control anarchies, right? That's another example. Okay, so that being said, it's a personal preference. Don't let anybody tell you this is how the government should run. Like people should tell you what they think they want to hear, and you should also tell them what you want to hear, what you prefer. Okay, it's the reason why we see communist party in the United States. We see other types of party because people understand that you have the right to choose who gets to be your leader, and you have the right to choose how you want to lead other people, even if you lead them into the fire, into the pit hole. As long as you have that mindset, it's your own goal, it's on you. Okay, so that's what I have for today, and it's a beautiful Sunday, and it's going to be a wonderful Sunday. And I just want to say that if you go there, go to church. A lot of churches today are going to be held online, from what I know, because people have gone in their homes, and in a place like DC, people they already left because of the government shutdown, so they didn't have to come back anyways. All right. Other than that, thanks for watching. Like always, see you, I guess, tomorrow. Yeah, see you tomorrow, and Tuesday. It's possible. Thank you so much for watching. Like always, ciao ciao, adios, bye bye.